After decades of major troop deployment, the Department of Defense is calling for major reorganization for the American troops preparing to transition out of military into civilian life. There's a lot to think about. Here to explain what returning veterans can do to maximize their potential in the workplace, retired Army Colonel Garland Williams, who's now with the University of Phoenix. Good morning, Colonel.
Good morning. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for joining us this morning. When should service members start planning for their transition?
You know, I think looking back on my career, I probably should have started about 2 years out. The only thing constant about everybody's military career is going to end, and you really need to think about what you're going to do next. You know, for me, I spent 28 years in the military, in the Army, retired as a colonel, was able to get my PhD and thought I was ready. But when I actually hit the time to bolt out, I realized there were so many choices and I was a bit overwhelmed. So you need those 2 years to plan.
Yeah, what goes into assessing, when you're talking about education, what goes into assessing your education, I guess, leveraging tuition assistance and other programs like that while you're on active duty?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I think there are two things you have to look at, both experience and education. You know, the military gives a great breadth of experience, especially in small unit leadership. But you need to check out that education to see if there's any gaps. And if you can use that 2 years prior to exiting and use that military tuition assistance, by the time you're ready to go do that first interview, you're going to be ready. You're going to have that resume ready, the cover letter, your 30-second, elevator speech, if you will, plus that dress for success. You know, many of us have worn uniforms forever, and you need to make sure that you're not looking out of place, if you will, in corporate culture.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's a lot of resources out there, but how can service members take full advantage, especially those free resources?
Sure. In addition to what we have at the University of Phoenix, which you can find on phoenix.edu/military, you can also go to the Department of Labor's Transition Assistance Program. All service members, before they get out, have to go through a 1 week or 2 week TAP, if you will, and it talks about how to build that resume, if it's a civilian or a federal resume. It tells you how to dress for success. It tells you what your VA benefits are, your educational benefits, and it also helps you set up with some of those first interviews to make your exit.
Yeah.
Additionally, University of Phoenix is partnering with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce's Hiring Our Heroes. Hiring Our Heroes is an organization that has about 200 events a year across the country whose sole purpose is to bring corporations and companies that are local with open jobs to be able to hire vets and put them into employment. And you can find information about where those are near you at hiringourheroes.org.
Yeah, you brought up a good point about these resumes, because I imagine somebody that's been in the military, their resume looks very different from somebody like mine. So what kinds of changes need to be made to these resumes for these civilian jobs?
No, you're right. I mean, there's not a lot of call for an infantryman out in the civilian world, but there is a lot of call for the talents that he learned in the military. For example, manpower. You know, who did you lead? Men and women, how many? What kind of situations? Money. You know, what kind of projects did you bring under budget? And material. What kind of stuff did you supervise and sign for? Our lowest squad leaders are signed for millions of dollars worth of equipment. Those are the skills that civilian HR managers are looking for because they can put those readily to use in their company. And so that military member needs to create that 2-page resume that talks in those civilian terms about what he did in the military so that HR member can help plug them in the right hole. Yeah,
any advice or any recommendations for, I guess, how to best present yourself when you actually get an interview?
Certainly, yeah. We talk in acronyms all the time in the military, and we have to get rid of that. We have to spell out the words, if you will. We have to relax. We're used to sitting at a modified position of attention when you're in an interview. You just need to let that personality come through. And the other thing is, in the military, we talk about teams. We talk about we. In the interview, you have to talk about I, because that's what you're highlighting, and that's what you're trying to sell yourself to the company.
Yeah, all good information. How about a website to go to that our viewers can touch base with to get more information?
Yeah, please go to phoenix.edu/military to take a look at the programs we offer to lead to the careers that you may desire.
Great. Colonel, thanks for your time this morning. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for the opportunity. Appreciate it.